Hello, YouTube, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 9 of COMMCast. I'm your host, Alexandra Huerta. COMMCast is a production of the Longwood University Communication Studies Department and COM 434 CommLab. It's a show where we get to know members of the Longwood and Farmville communities, and today's show, let's get to know Elijah and Kolby Logue of Kemistry Motion Pictures, a local film company in Farmville, Virginia. Hello. So what are your roles in your upcoming production of Running Home?
I'm the director of photography, and co-writer.
Yeah, and I'm the executive producer, writer, and I'm also one of the leads in the film.
Love all the roles.
Right, we do a lot of
Yes.
stuff.
Could you give us a general plot of what Running Home is about?
So Running Home it follows the story of 5 students and 1 teacher at a school called Willow Park High, and we get to see their family life, their home life, their friendships, their struggles, their loves, their desires, and their hopes for the future. And then their hopes for the future suddenly change when 2 gunmen enter their school, and they have to either run, hide, or fight for their lives.
Yep.
So, Kolby, why did you decide to rewrite Schrodinger's cat to Running Home?
Schrodinger's cat was a good script. It was a very different script. And when we were in production, basically everything that could go wrong went wrong. We had a lot of issues as far as actors getting sick and not being able to come to set, locations canceling on us last minute, actors having to run out of the room during a scene because the content of the film was so intense. And we had to cut a lot of things as we were going because, when you're on set, you have to make really snappy decisions. So then when we got to post-production, it was not at all the story that we had originally desired to write. With all of the changes that we had to make and the things we had to cut, we realized that a lot of the focus was on the shooters, and that's not at all the kind of story we wanted to tell. So we went back to the drawing board, we prayed a lot, and we took the next year to just completely trash the script. I think we trashed 4 scripts in total over the following year until we finally got Running Home, and it's exactly what we wanted it to be. So that was a huge blessing, and it took time, but sometimes you got to take time to have something great. So yeah.
Well, that's incredible. And Elijah, how was it turning the script into footage?
It's a very interesting process, and traditionally you would have an artist and you'd create a storyboard, and but me being the director and the director of photography, most of it was in my head, and with the uncertainty of locations, it was very difficult for us to do pre-production and to plan for things like that. So a lot of it was us getting on location, and we worked very well together when it came to that, because we'd get on location and she would block a scene, and then I would come in with camera in mind and just place camera where I envisioned it to be prior, just reading the script. There's a lot of studying of the script. And it also helped too that we were both the writers, so we were kind of working together during that whole process as well.
Yeah, as we were writing it, we were like, this is how this should look, and this is how this should look.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He did a great job. He's an amazing director of photography.
I'm very happy with the end product.
Yeah.
So what was your inspiration with writing and creating Running Home?
When you turn on the news or you listen to the radio, just about every other day, if not more, you hear about another mass shooting, whether it was in a school, at a concert, things like that. And I think that if you're exposed to something so often, you can kind of go numb to it. So, you'll hear it on the radio and you'll like, oh, it's another school shooting, man, that's awful. And then
at
that's
this
the
point,
end of it.
it's just become like another number.
Yeah. And we wanted to write a film that forced the audiences into living through an active shooting rather than just hearing about it. That way, maybe that shock factor won't go away. Because if the shock factor of a mass shooting leaves and you're just like, oh, there's another one, that's a super unfortunate society. And we just really wanted to write something that would re-add that shock factor back and really force people to live through it.
Yeah, it puts the audience into the perspective of
A student.
a student who
Yeah.
would go through something like that.
So since faith is an important part of your company, how did you incorporate your faith into this film in a respectful manner?
Well, we prayed a lot before we would write anything. And we had a lot of people of different faith backgrounds working on the set. And we would never force our faith on anyone. That's not our desire at all. But our desire is to kind of show the love of Christ through our actions and through what we do. So every morning on set, before we did anything, we would all be like, okay, Elijah and I are going to go over here and pray. If anyone would like to join us, please do. And it really turned into a cast bonding moment where we would all just kind of stand in the middle of where we're shooting and hold hands and just ask God for protection, for provision throughout the set, and then we'd go about our day. And it was really cool to see the Lord work through that, because you have so many people that are like shoving their faith down your throat at all times, and that's not at all what we want. And I think that it was a huge blessing that we got to show people even just the slightest bit of our faith while we were on set.
So how did you guys respect the deaths on scene and putting that on camera into your film?
So we have we met with a lot of people as far as high schoolers, and there's one person who's on our crew who just graduated high school this past year, and he was on the Schrodinger's cat set as well. And we were like, hey, we haven't been in high school in a really long time. How do you feel going to school every day? And we talked to him for like 45 minutes at one point, and he just broke down and he was like, guys, like, it's a fear of mine every single day. And we were like, oh my gosh, that's, you don't think about a high schooler going into school and then being terrified for their life every time they walk through the door. Even if it's just a little thought, they should never have that thought. And so we did a lot of research as far as victims' families go. And it was all about research, and it was all about properly depicting the victims, because we would never want any disrespect to come out of this. So it was all about research, and it was all about camaraderie with people who have lived it or are scared to live it. So yeah.
Well, it's beautiful that you were able to do that research and talk with these students, so it's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So what made you want to take more of the thriller perspective rather than a more documentary take?
Well, I think it's easy. Of course, it's easier to control a story when it's fiction, which is why we wanted to do this. And we really wanted to focus on the humanity of our characters and have complete control of that. And that's the main reason why we chose to go with a fiction film rather than a documentary type style film. And I love the visionary and cinematography aspect of just film in general, opposed to documentary. So it's kind of just a personal preference.
And film has the power to, film is really fascinating in the way that you can be sitting in your living room and watching this story unfold, and then you somehow build a relationship with these fictional characters. And it's really, really cool because you're rooting for these people, you're hoping that they win, that they get what they want, they get their desires. And I think that that's really important in a story like this, to have the audience have such an emotional connection to the characters themselves, because I think that that completely like skyrockets the meaning of the film. If the audience is able to be like, why did that happen? I think that it really adds new perspective in it. And it's entertaining. It forces, not force, but it makes people want to come watch this film, and then maybe they leave educated.
Well, I'd like to thank you all so much for answering the questions, and we're going to go on to our next segment of COMMCast Trivia. But first, let's take a look at the teaser trailer for Running Home.
Today we are going to be talking about, drumroll please, the future.
So beginning our fast trivia, your first question will be, who is considered to be the greatest film director of all time?
All time? I guess would that be Steven Spielberg? Or Quentin Tarantino?
No.
No?
Martin Scorsese would be my answer. But I have no idea.
We have no idea. I would say Quentin Tarantino.
I don't think that's true.
Let's look at the answer.
Okay,
Steven
I
Spielberg.
said
There you
I
go.
said
There you
Steven
go.
Spielberg. I said it.
He's pretty great.
Winner.
So for the second one, it says, what film about school massacres won Best Documentary Feature?
I only know of one other school shooting film.
Which would be Run, Hide, Fight. But
yeah.
I don't think that.
I don't think it won Best Documentary.
Ah, wait a minute.
Again?
No. What's the film about Columbine? I don't remember what it was called. It's a film about Columbine. I don't remember. But it's a film about Columbine.
Cool. Let's see the answer. Bowling for Columbine.
There you go. There you go.
And for the next
Close enough.
question, what is the most expensive movie ever made from Hollywood?
I feel like you know this one.
No,
yeah.
I know the most expensive TV show, which was the Power of the Ten Rings.
But that doesn't matter because it's a movie.
Yeah.
The most expensive movie ever made from Hollywood.
It was more recent, I will say.
More recent. Was it
Well, the answer's already there. So.
I
was going to say the first Avatar. That was my second option.
With
So
a
you would be
$460 billion budget.
Oh my gosh.
Very expensive.
What we could
that
do
would
with
be nice.
So for another question is, what is the most popular independent film production company in America?
A24?
Yeah, I'd say A24.
Let's look at it. Lionsgate Films.
Oh.
I didn't know they were an indie film production company. Ooh. Okay. Great. Good to know.
Awesome. Well, thank you to Elijah and Kolby Logue for joining us today, and thank you to everyone for watching. For everyone behind the scenes, I'm your host, Alexandra Huerta. Tune in next semester for another season of COMMCast.